10-year-long study showed us that in a flow state, you're proven to be 500% more productive. That means entrepreneurs can work in a flow state on Mondays, take the rest of the week off, and still get a larger output than entrepreneurs working 12 hours every single day. And now imagine if you could enter flow state daily. Well, this is exactly what the world-class top entrepreneurs are using to destroy the competition every single day. And after researching the neuroscience behind flow state for 3 years now, coaching several 5 to 6 figure per month entrepreneurs to scale their business with less work, I've developed a 6-step system any entrepreneur can use to enter flow state at will. And so in this video, I'm not only going to show you why flow state is the most powerful state you can ever access, especially if you are an entrepreneur, but also how to access it on command whenever you want to, so you can scale your business faster in just 6 hours a day. Okay, let's dive in. See, going back to that 10-year-long study I just mentioned, stating that flow state makes you 500% more productive, that's not only the benefit you're going to get, you're also proven to have a 500% boost in motivation, a 200% boost in memory and learning, a 430% boost in creativity and innovation, and a 100% boost in meaning and purpose. And so what this creates is this ultra hyper productive state where you can get hours of work done in just 30 minutes to 1 hour. And the best part is, flow state is an autotelic experience, which basically means it has an end in itself. And so whatever you do that creates flow state in your life, your brain wants more of that. It wants to do it more. And so when you can position work as your ultimate flow state activity, you can get into a flow state. You will always want to do more work. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what is flow state? Like, we've been talking about this topic for maybe a few minutes, but you don't even understand what flow state is. Well, flow state is basically a state where you feel and perform at your best. You feel your best as in you feel happy, you feel very fulfilled, you feel very purposeful, and you also perform your best, so you're very focused. And one of the main experiences you feel inside of a flow state is time dilation. So time can either freeze, so you get this freeze frame effect. So imagine like you're in a sport, you've got 1 second left to score a goal inside of football, or your actions determine whether you succeed or you lose. Or time can speed up drastically, so 5 hours can feel like 5 minutes. If you're ever in those social interactions where you're speaking to someone and time just flies by, right? Maybe you're speaking to a friend, maybe you're playing a video game, and the time just starts to speed up out of nowhere. And what felt like 5 minutes was just 5 hours. And I know that's a lot of information, but there's one more thing you need to understand about flow state. And of course, there's a lot more you can learn about flow state, but this is a very important point. Flow state is what we call a spectrum experience, which basically means it's on a spectrum. You can go to micro flow states and you can go to macro flow states depending on the task you're working on, your energy levels, your focus levels, and all this stuff, right? And luckily for us, psychologists have built a way we can measure a flow state and determine whether we've actually entered it. It's almost like a scale, and so we call this a flow state scale, which is a set of questions you can use after every single time you try to enter a flow state to determine whether you're in it or not. So we'll talk about that later in this video, but you're probably asking right now, Harry, this sounds amazing. Like, I can become 500% more productive, I can take the entire week off if I just get into a flow state on Mondays, but how the hell do I actually enter it? Well, this is the most interesting part, okay? You see, flow science dates back to the 1800s, and through doing that, there's been multiple different ways people have found to get into a flow state, right? And mainly there being 6 core characteristics of flow state we can assess and utilize to basically make us inside of our flow state. So the very first condition you want to activate inside of our flow state is complete concentration. Now, this is something luckily that is inside our control, because we can remove distractions, we can make an environment suited towards deep work, we can make the task easier to do if it's too difficult for us, and there's so many different aspects you can change around your concentration that this is the main one you want to focus on, right? Because it usually takes around 25 minutes to enter a flow state. So if you run into distractions, just simply identify them, remove them, find ways to remove them from your life, find the little impulses that cause you to go on distractions, the cues. So maybe you always have your phone next to you when you're working, and whenever your phone goes off, you instantly go to grab it. Well, obviously the thing you could do there is just remove your phone from your environment. Now, the next condition of a flow state is a merge of action and awareness. This is when you feel that sense of oneness with everything, right? Everything's just flowing together, the task feels effortless to do, and you almost lose this sense of yourself, right? Which is another characteristic we'll go into in just a second, but this one's very important because all your thoughts, all your emotions are aligned with the thing you're working on, the task you're working on. And so this is mainly a consequence of many of the things that you can do and activate. So for example, when you're completely concentrated on a task, which you just talked about, you're obviously going to have a merge of action and awareness. The third condition you're going to experience inside of a flow state, and this is something that is also a consequence of, concentration, is an altered sense of time. So like I said before, a main characteristic of a flow state is an altered sense of time. You're going to feel like time is either speeding up or you're going to get this freeze frame effect. So psychologist Philip Zimbardo called this the deep now, which you might have heard of before. The deep now is almost like the sense where time does not exist, right? You're always in the present moment, and thoughts from the past and the future completely disappear. Now, a very good way I've managed to induce this inside my life is to create like a flow state environment, right? So I follow a few different actions every single time I go to focus on my work. So very first thing I do is I close my door. I get rid of all the outside noise that could distract me when I'm working. Then I usually listen to some focus sounds, so maybe rain, maybe some kind of ambience that helps me focus. Then I set a timer to focus on my work, right? So I set a timer and an intention, a goal that I want to follow for the task. And so all of these steps that I follow, I've almost created this flow state habit, right? My brain has associated the work and those steps with a flow state, and so I get this altered sense of time almost automatically. The next sensation you want to look for inside of a flow state is the loss of the self. You can define this as that voice inside your head that tries to stop you from achieving things. So that defeatist voice that does not serve you, just goes away and it turns off. You also get this lower body awareness. So maybe a pain in your leg that you are experiencing just vanishes. The next one is paradox of control. This is when you have some kind of sense of control over the results you're going to get or the action you're going to work on, right? So you get power of control over a situation that isn't usually controllable. And finally, you have the autotetic experience, which basically states flow state has an end in itself. And I know that sounds very confusing, but all it means is we always want more of what brings us flow state, like I said before, right? So if we get into a flow state while we're working, our brain's gonna see, okay, we want to do this more, we want to work more, because that's when we enter flow state. This is when we feel our best, right? And so those are the main 6 conditions of flow state, and these are the characteristics you want to look for. And so what you see on the screen right now is the flow short scale, which is a set of questions you can answer just to see if you're in a flow state or not. And if you experience even just a few of those characteristics, you are basically inside of a flow state. And this is obviously when you're going to be doing a lot more work, you'll be a lot more focused on the task. So now I want to leave you with a few action steps you can take away from this video to basically practically enter flow state in your next debug session when you go to work on your business. So the very first thing I want you to do is just make sure you have good focus, right? So remove everything that could distract you inside of your work. And additionally, you want to get to work as close to when you wake up as possible, because this is when you're going to be able to enter flow state the most. And obviously you're going to have a very low cognitive load because you're going to wake up, you're going to have peak energy levels and focus levels, right? Now the next thing you want to do is just make sure you have as much clarity on the task as possible. Make sure you know exactly what you're working on for how long and the complete step-by-step process you need to go through completing that task. Now this can be made in Notion, like a to-do list, for example. You will want to make sure you get the golden rule of flow state right. So I wanted to leave this to the end of the video because it's the most important point. See, many psychologists have came up with the idea of flow state mainly being activated on one condition, which is a challenge to skill ratio. You want to make sure every single task you work on has a balance in challenge and your skills. So if a task is too hard, then you're going to procrastinate and you're going to feel overwhelmed, right? If a task is too easy, you're going to feel bored and you're going to run to distractions. But if a task is just right in the middle, your skills are fighting towards a challenge, right? Your brain is fully engaged on a task. You get this dopamine reward when you go to complete the challenge because you're making progress. And so the best way to get into a flow state is make sure you're inside the flow channel or have a balance in challenge and skills. And when you can master that, that's when you actually enter flow state the most. Okay, so those are the main action steps I want you to follow if you want to be able to enter a flow state. Now of course there's a bunch more bits of information, a bunch more action steps you can follow to optimize this and activate it even more, but those are the fundamentals I want you to master. Okay, so if you are an entrepreneur who wants to get into a flow state for 6+ hours a day, completely blow up your business and increase your revenue by using flow state, click the first link in the description to join my free community. And also if you want me to help you scale your business personally using flow state, click the second link in the description to book a one-to-one call with me where I can show you exactly how I've helped multiple 6-figure per month entrepreneurs scale their business by working less. Okay, have an amazing rest of your day. Peace.